Hey, I'm Zoe.
And I'm Fox.
And today we were going to review Gem and the Holograms, but you know what? We did you one better. This movie almost happened. Okay, let me rephrase. The movie does exist.
Sadly.
There is a movie that you can pay for and watch.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. What I mean by this movie almost exists is that nothing really happens in this movie, but there's 6 different moments where we thought is this actually going to go somewhere? Is something going to happen?
And then it doesn't.
And then it doesn't. And then it didn't. It just let go completely. Oh boy.
For those that don't know, Gem and the Holograms was a 1980s cartoon. It's not as popular as some of the others, like Transformers, G.I. Joes, He-Man, Masters of the Universe. But it's certainly more popular than, say, Brave Star. Or the one where, they're all cows in space, but cowboy cows.
I wouldn't know. I haven't seen any of this area of cartoon.
I think that cartoon is real and not just a fever dream I had. Anyway, it is a beloved cartoon, and it is about Jerrica Benton. And how, her father dies, she inherits Starlight Music and Starlight House, I think it's just called. It's just a house for, some orphans. She inherits orphans. When you say it out loud, that's fucked up.
Right.
She's an adult, yada yada. None of that matters because this movie has nothing to do with that, and it's not like that in the slightest.
Yes. It is nothing at all like the cartoon. I haven't seen the cartoon.
I've watched all of it.
Fox is deeply obsessed with this cartoon.
I fucking love Gem and the Holograms, the cartoon.
So, I'm going by their gut here. Probably reasonable that this movie is completely different.
You can only judge it by the merits of what it is presented to you. And what it is presented to you is garbage.
It's still bad.
Hot, steaming nothingness.
It's so hard to describe this movie. The vibe is like a rip-off DCOM. You know what I mean? Do you know what a DCOM is?
A Disney comedy.
Disney Channel original movie.
Oh, well, yeah, I was close.
I mean, a lot of them have comedy elements, but I think most people would say they aren't strictly comedies. They have plenty of drama in them. It doesn't matter. But a DCOM has a vibe, like a very specific template and vibe it goes with. And it gets a little restrictive for them, but there's examples of them using that vibe and template in interesting ways and making cool stories out of it. But this is a movie that feels like a DCOM, but they didn't really know how to make a DCOM. So they're not even hitting this bad minimum that you would get from this template because they don't know what they're doing. They aren't doing anything. There's nothing going on here.
So, Gem and the Holograms, the movie, instead of being adults, they are all children. Roughly anywhere from 14 to 17. It's not fully stated, I don't think, and if it is, it doesn't matter, I don't care.
Right.
The Kimber and Jerrica are blood sisters. Their father has died. R.I.P. in hell, Emmett.
It's a little harsh.
I mean, he played favorites. He hated Kimber. He only loved Jerrica.
Yeah, well.
And I'm not saying that's too different from the series. I mean, that's the only thing they got right.
The dude had 2 hyperfixations. Robots and one of his daughters.
Just the one.
Just the one.
So their
It
father...
would have been, here's the thing, because here's one of the moments, here's one of the things where, like, the movie is like, oh, we could be doing something. It was like, it would have, if this is like a potential where, like, oh, is it like, oh, they're not actually related, or, oh, did the dad not know about the other daughter for some reason, like, half daughter, half, sibling kind of situation, like, is there going to be some tension in regards to this? Is there going to be some, like, are they going to get angry at each other? No, nothing happens.
No, nothing. The father and the movie both do not give a shit about Kimber. It's not even hate. They just don't care. So she gets nothing. Nothing. So he dies. The girls go to live with their Aunt Bailey.
I don't remember. She's a nothing character.
Okay, here's a fun fact. Her name, Bailey, that's actually a character in the show, Mrs. Bailey. She's the housekeeper.
Ah.
And she's very minor.
Well, there you go.
She's nothing. So here she is the aunt that has taken the two girls in, and she already had two other foster kids of her own, Shauna and Aja. By the way, if you're curious, they don't have much personality here either. Shayna, it kind of is like the bad girl. She gets into trouble with the law.
She's constantly stealing. Like, she's constantly just, like, taking little things.
Which, could be funny, but it's nothing, and she gets no other personality.
Well,
and also,
I say she's constantly stealing. She's not. She steals in the first 10 minutes, and then maybe it happens one more time in the movie. But they say that she constantly steals.
Yeah, it happens like maybe twice, and then it's dropped because this movie doesn't give a shit about anyone but Jerrica.
Right.
Which is funny, because Jerrica's personality here, they did something interesting where they didn't give her one. Jerrica, in the original show, she's good-hearted, but she's also savage, a cold bitch at times, and fucking unhinged. She goes the whole show, it's like 3 seasons, without telling Rio that she is both Jem and Jerrica, and she has been flirting with this man, warping his brain for all these episodes. So he thinks, oh my god, I'm attracted to this other woman. She's kind of flirting with me. Am I cheating? But I love Jerrica. It's so fucked. It's so funny. She even has songs where she's lamenting about it, but it's like, girl, you did this to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Well, here's the second part of, like, a thing they could have done that was interesting, and then they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an intro to the movie in which nothing happens. They sing a song, and that's it. And then Jerrica puts on a wig, and I don't think she puts on makeup. I think she just has like a big wig that she kind of like covers her face a little bit.
Oh, when they're in the yard doing a YouTube video?
Well, the wig gets put on her head then, but then after that she's in her room, but she still has like the wig on, and she's kind of hiding her identity. She's kind of playing into a much more femme role than she is, and she's like hunched. She's like trying not to really show her face. And there was like a whole minute where we were like, they're not going to do this. We know they're not going to do this, but like this is a trans woman.
Yeah.
Like, this is a trans woman. And this is a trans woman doing trans woman things. And like, of course they didn't go in that direction. We didn't think, like, there's no
way they would.
No expectation of that, but they could have, and it would have given Jerrica an actual character.
Yes.
And it's so weird because like what little there is in this story does align a lot with that. With this like potential trans identity story, it's like weirdly close, but like it doesn't take a step. And like we have a theory. I think maybe I pitched a theory initially of like this was a trans thing, or like an allegory for a trans thing, but then like the studio stamped that shit out.
I think you're 100% right with that. At least one of the writers was like, I'm gonna get my queer little hands all over this bitch.
Right.
I don't think that's our smoking gun. Someone somewhere must have just.
There was only one writing credit, but I have to wonder, were other writers involved and they just didn't get credited? I have to imagine that happens.
Oh, I mean, things like that happen all the time in Hollywood. It's a cesspool of not giving creators their due. Then again, it could also just be someone being like, I want my name off of this. That also happens in Hollywood.
It could be that. I mean, like, we can't ignore the possibility of it just being weird coincidence. You know what I mean? Of like, you know, it could be a emergent phenomena. I don't know. It's just so weird.
Maybe
it
was
weirdly close on a lot of things.
What it is maybe they were trying to zero in on pop culture of the time, which does tend to be very, very queer, especially with YouTube. And,
True.
A lot of us queers making our own little shit. Look at us here.
Right. I don't know. Anyway, we got to move on.
Anyway, so she gets adopted. Aunt Bailey is taking care of all of them. But oh noes, she's getting close to losing the house. But she only lets the favorite child know this.
That wasn't really a plot point that was explained. It was just kind of vague. I don't know. We weren't even sure if it was like a money thing or like...
No, it was a money thing.
Was it specifically?
Yeah, it's absolutely a money thing. She's just running out of money. She only, had so much. She only let Jerica know. Jerica kept it from all the others throughout this whole thing, causing unnecessary tension.
Right.
Also, this is the whole reason why Jerica does stuff, is so she can get money to save the house, save their home.
Well, okay, oh, yes. Okay, so backing up a little bit.
Yes, backing up.
The four kids are musical kids, and I wouldn't go so far to say that they're full musicians. Because they're still kids. They haven't they're still they know how to make music. They know how to like play instruments, but they haven't
gone what I
to the
had
full
forgotten
stuff.
Until just this moment. That weird scene where the girls are like arguing and the aunt comes in and she like just orders them all to sing in harmony for her.
It's really weird.
I think she only like said like a word or two, not even like sing it. She was just like harmonize, and they all fucking started singing. It was weird.
It was weird.
It was uncomfortable. It felt cultish.
I think the implication was that the aunt had been teaching them, how to make music and all this other stuff, how to sing, and then was using that as part of like, let's kind of come together and like, bond. And
but the movie did that poorly.
Yeah, they did really bad. So they sing a song, and then they're like, they're recording it because that's what kids do.
Yes. I think the insinuation is Kimber is really into YouTube.
Yes, and then Jerica,
very shy, very camera shy,
doesn't want to be a part of it. They kind of like drag her a little bit into it, but she doesn't commit. And then they put her in like a wig because they're all dressed up. They have like a wig and makeup on and all this other shit. And then later that night, as everybody's falling asleep, Jerica plays a little personal song still in the wig and everything, and then posts that on YouTube, and it goes viral out of nowhere.
Instantly viral overnight because people don't know how the internet works.
Yeah, and this movie was released in 2015. So no. In 2015, I would say if it was like a Let's Play. If it was like a scary game Let's Play, I could see it going viral overnight. I could see that. That's that era of YouTube in 2015. The people doing like the Justin Bieber getting viral overnight for singing a song, that's more like 2008 YouTube. There's a different era. And then, of course, nowadays, if you want to do that, you just release a video essay. So you've got the three stages. You've got the pupil, the larva, and You know, you've got the different evolutions.
So yeah,
She gets viral.
she goes viral. They did a funny thing here. So in the cartoon, and one of the antagonists is Eric Raymond. He was the business partner, owned half of Starlight Industries, the music studio. Well, Jerica's father owned the other half. Here, her name is Erica Raymond.
Right.
She owns all of Starlight, and her son is Rio. I want that to sink in. Erica's son is Rio. And everyone who's listening who is a fan of Gem and the Holograms is going, what the fuck? Meanwhile, everyone else is like, who the fuck is this?
Right. Let's not get stuck on this.
Right.
We've got stuff to get through.
Right, and there's so little and yet so much. So Erica is like, oh, Jerica, I wanna sign you on. Come to me. That was weird wording. What was that?
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know. I was thinking like a little songbird when you say "come to me, little."
No. Okay.
I'm
so Erica sees that a young artist is going viral, and then she's like, "Hey, sign with us, and you'll be able to go on tour and sell music and all this other shit."
And Jerica wants to do this because again, they need the money.
They need the money. It's also implied that it's like, oh, it's like the fame is, this is like a huge, thing of attention. It could be really big.
She doesn't exactly sign, but she convinces Erica to be like, let my sisters, we're a band, let us all go.
And then she kind of signs everybody on. They're like for them, like they don't really have an active decision. They don't have any active decisions in this movie.
I mean, what Jerica says goes. She is law. She is God.
And then they go to California, and then they stay at this
Starlight, the Starlight house.
To stay at the house, and then
Rio is like their babysitter.
Who also immediately starts flirting with Jerica, even though Rio is canonically 19, which isn't great.
Oh wait, just 19? I thought he was like in his 20s.
No, he's like 19. He's like,
It's just so funny because like there was like no good reason to have him be 19.
Right, when they're all like 15, 16. He could have just been 16.
Like if Jericho...
Especially because, you need him to drive a car later. He has like a car and it comes up. He could be 16 and have a fucking car.
Or like Jericho could just be 18. That would be fine.
That would be better. Just have them all be 18. Well, then you don't have like our home. Just because it's like...
Well, no, that still tracks. I mean, because like Jericho wouldn't be able to get her own home at 18. She would still be living with Aunt Bailey.
Right, but the person who made this was a white movie producer.
Right.
So he's not gonna think that like it's like, oh, you're an adult, you need to move away from your family now. He's
the guest house that we have.
Right. This is the concept that she wouldn't be able to afford a place on her own is a completely foreign concept to this kind of person.
That is fair. But it's a very silly choice. And also, Rio's a prick. He's mean to these girls for no fucking reason. Just no reason.
Right.
And like, it's not even an arc where he opens up or anything. He's just a piece of shit, and then he's like, yeah, sure, I'll help you girls. Why the fuck not?
Right.
Anyway, so yada yada. Suddenly, so Jerica got a like a ball or something. I don't remember.
No. So she'd been keeping a keepsake from her father. Mm-hmm. She had a couple keepsakes, and
Kimber had none, by the way.
And one of the keepsakes was an unfinished robot that they thought didn't work.
Right, and so suddenly, while they're in California, it comes to life. It's corporate cute,
Right, yeah.
Like corporations,
It's
being
very
like,
it's very BB-8 from the Star Wars the Star Wars
yeah,
next
it's like
trilogy.
BB-8 or like Baby Yoda. Like, oh, we're gonna cutify this little motherfucker. You're gonna buy all the goddamn merch.
Right, and then that didn't work. But yeah, so it turns on, and then it gives them directions to a local pier.
I just need to let you know the name of this robot is Synergy, spelled, I believe, F1NG.
F1N.
I'm sorry, did I say F? I meant 5.
Yeah.
The S is a 5, and then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a 1, then an N, G point Y. It's stupid. They don't know what leet speak is. They were trying to do leet speak and failed.
Right. And for the people who haven't seen Gem and the Holograms, the reason why Fox is pointing this out is because Energy is a character in cartoons. It is a robot or an AI that
yes,
creates the titular holograms.
Yes, and she also, I believe she's like a computer, and she also has her own hologram. Very attractive, and she has a personality there, and it's just ignored here to be this cute little robot thing.
Right, and then so it shows them like coordinates to like a local pier. I think it's the Santa Monica Pier. I don't know. They go to the pier. They find a thing that was like hidden there by the dad. It's like another part of the robot.
By the way, this is an active pier, and it's been like a decade since he's died, but it's still there, hidden. It's weird.
Right, and like the way to get into it was to like sing a specific range of notes or something like that, and it was just like this would have happened with the amount of people just singing dumb shit on piers.
Or just like the thing itself would have gotten broken open.
Right, it's stupid, but what's even more stupid is that they go to the place. It's midnight. They get there, and then like a minute later, a cop shows up and tries to arrest them for trespassing.
Oh, before we go further, it's important to note, Jerica has earrings from her father. However, Erica took them because she thought they were ugly and put them in a vault, a little safe in her office. And when I say it out loud, that's nothing.
I think it was like the implication was that Erica may have recognized them because there is a connection between Erica and the dad.
No.
Is there not? I thought
No,
there was.
No. The father you're thinking of is Rio's father, who left Starlight to Rio instead of the mother.
Oh my god.
There's no connection. She literally just took them because they were ugly.
My brain just melded these things together.
And she put it in the safe. And it's where she keeps... I think in the safe she keeps records.
So add that to the tally of things the movie could have done.
She actually keeps records that implicate her and prove that this should all be Rio's in that safe in her office instead of like destroying them. They sing together, yada yada. There's this really hard place for bands to
Right, it's like oh, this big theater that like even the greats have trouble booking sometimes and all this other shit, and then like
it's a hole in the wall place.
Yeah, it's the tiniest place, but they mention like 4 separate times that like this is an aspirational place. You're not going to be able to get there right away. We have to build up to it because like this is such a huge important place. And then the robot says like, oh, this is the next place you got to go. And then they book it the next day. And then the concert happens the day after.
It's nothing. This is the simplest goddamn place to get into. I could go there and fucking play, and I can't carry a tune.
And
I can't even say it.
You can't carry either. And then
the power goes out.
They couldn't even like fake a set of like a big concert area. They couldn't even do that. It looks like a fucking like industrial basement.
It's so weird. Like none of it matches up. And the power goes out, so Jerica's like, oh, I've got this, we're just gonna go acoustic on it.
They pull acoustic
guitars
and other instruments off of the wall, which
wouldn't
were
really
definitely
be tuned.
decorative and not actual.
Those wouldn't be tuned. I just
They,
thought
they,
about
they
that.
wouldn't be tuned. Some of them probably wouldn't actually play at all because they're fully decorative.
I mean, like, some of them may be real dusty and, like, that's gonna fuck with the chords and everything.
Yeah, it would be an issue, but they do it off and then they continue the thing. It's like, oh, it's a big success.
And then Jerica, just by chance, happened to... If I remember correctly, the guitar she grabbed was the thing that they needed.
Yes,
and there was something
inside
of the guitar.
Yeah, it was in the guitar. And
something is inside of the guitar. That's going to change the guitar.
It's pieces of the robot.
Jesus Christ.
It's additions to the robot. Because it is unfinished. So they're like adding to the robot.
Why didn't he finish it?
I don't fucking know. His plot ends 50% of the way through the movie.
Is he the Riddler? Like a shitty Riddler?
That's... How do you not clear an exceedingly low bar? Anyway.
Yeah, so she gets this piece. So then we're getting to the point of the movie where I'm trying to think of what exactly happens next. Oh, she gets a face call from the aunt who's like, yeah, no, I can't save this place. And Jerica is like, okay, we need the money now. So she goes to Erica. By the way, Jerica and Erica, you did not have to do that. You chose to do that. Fuck you, movie. And it's like, hey, can I get this money up front? And Erica says, sure, sign these documents for me and become a solo act.
Don't. It would have been even better just like sign these documents. Don't read them. Don't read them.
That would have been. And so, like.
That would have been an actual fucking plot point because, like, of course she's a naive kid. Of course she's not going to fucking read it.
I think if I remember correctly, Jerica does sign them, and then the others are, like, livid. Like, oh my god, fame has gone to you. You're just casting us aside. And I think maybe she tries to say something, but it's like, you had all this opportunity to tell them what was going on. And so, of course, they're still going to be mad at you because you're a bitch. Like, I understand she's a teenager, but she's being a bitch.
Right, yeah.
So...
Big drama moment.
At this point, we should say we did not finish because we had rented the movie for 48 hours.
This was such a difficult movie to watch.
It took us 48 hours to get this far, and there was still, like, 30 minutes left? 45?
Something like that, yeah. But we know the gist of what happens next, and it's not that much. We watched some clips of scenes from the back half of the movie.
Yeah, so what it is yada yada, Jerica, Gem, whatever.
So the band splits up because the Jerica betrayed them for whatever, and then
they don't even split up for long because Jerica goes to like their old home when where she lived with her dad. And the others just know to go there?
Well, so first, Jerica tries to do a solo concert, which happens in, like, one day. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So they do, so she tries to do a solo concert, and then it completely flops. And it's like, she's, like, terrified and anxious, and it just doesn't go well. And then she appeals to the family by going... I think she originally goes back to the dad's place as oh, I'm lost, I need help, kind of like existentially, and then Kimber's there for similar reasons, and the rest of the band is just tagging along.
I don't think Aunt Bailey got these girls therapy.
No, and then I think they probably find the last piece of the robot there.
Yeah, because famously, when a house is sold, the new owners don't go through it.
Right, and they don't mess around with anything inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
The last piece of the robot, which reveals something.
I couldn't tell you, so I guess we can look it up. I think this is what reveals that the last thing they need are the earrings that Erica took for no good reason.
The group also discovers Rio's late father's will because it's in the exact same place where the earrings happen to be. So this whole fucking scavenger hunt is worthless.
Do you think the message was just to Jerica?
Probably.
Because he obviously didn't love Kimber.
And then Rio's late father, his will is in the thing which says like, oh, hey, Rio, you're going to get my company. And so he gets the company now that he got this, and that totally happens literally in that 5 minutes. That's how business works, whatever. And then, so they save the house, and they perform as a band again, and everything's great. And then Erica runs away. And that's it.
And then there is a mid-credits scene, which pissed me off. Erica goes to, like, a junkyard, I guess, where the Misfits are living, I guess.
Right.
And that's it. She's like, hey, will you come fuck up Gem and the Holograms for me?
Right.
And the reason the pizzazz says yes is because she found out Jerica and Rio were dating. And excuse me? Pizzazz of the Misfits, leader of the Misfits, is not going to serve cunt like the queen she is for some man's. Okay? She doesn't give a shit.
Here's the thing.
How dare.
Here's the thing. This is a cast chock full to the brim with women. And yet everybody is obsessed with this singular dude.
Yeah.
It all revolves around the dude. Jerica doesn't even solve her own fucking problem. Her actual plot in this fucking story doesn't matter.
And all of her stuff was given to fucking Rio, her inheritance. Like, it's weird. It's really fucking weird.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's not great.
It's doubly weird because it's not like they did anything with Rio. He was just there.
Yeah, he was there.
He existed.
He was there. He gets a crush on Jericho. Gross. And then, yeah. And then he gets a bunch of money, and he's like, "I'm saving the day. I'm the guy." And we can call it diverse because even though I am talked about as Latino, I have extremely pale skin.
Yeah.
As pale as you.
Yeah. By the way, the music in this sucks ass.
It's all bad.
You scroll down to the soundtrack because I'm pretty sure like half of the songs aren't even original songs, which in something like Gem and the Holograms, that's reprehensible. That show had anywhere from like 2 to 4, maybe even 5 songs, all original in each episode. And you're gonna come here and do a handful of shitty little songs that you didn't even make? Fuck you.
It seems like half of the soundtrack is original. A solid half, solid 50%.
Just abysmal all around. It makes no sense. Oh, also, this film, as a last bit of salt in the wounds of fans, there was like some sort of contest they hosted where people were sent in videos about how much they loved Gem and the Holograms cartoon and how much it meant to them. And then they used those videos in the movie, not telling people that like it was going to be to like hype up the movie itself to make it look like they were speaking about this Jerica and Gem and the Holograms. So it was it was seen as sort of fraudulent, not telling them like how it was going to be used.
Babe, did you send in a video?
No, because I didn't know about it. I would have sent in a video if I knew about it in time. Are you kidding me?
Well, I'm glad you did.
I would have sent in a 30-minute essay about how Kimber and Stormer are the queer love story we need to see on screen today.
This was in 2015. I don't think you would have.
That changes nothing.
That was in your hard drug phase. I don't think that was happening.
Well, I mean, the bitch can dream.
Alright, that's the movie. It sucks. We're gonna get into our remakes.
Should I begin?
You typically do, might as well.
Okay. So the biggest change right off the bat is that this is going to be more like the cartoon. They're all adults. There's no aunt taking care of them. I think I'm okay with them fostering a few kids, but I don't think they'd have like a large group of orphans.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
And the orphans are going to be, like, kind of an afterthought anyway, kind of like they are in the cartoon.
Right.
So we start off similar to the cartoon, where Daddy's dead and Jerica inherits everything. Big house with orphans, Starlight music. Technically only half, shared with his business partner, Eric Raymond, who is not a woman because what a weird and unnecessary change.
They wanted to hashtag girl boss it.
But, like, there's already girl bossing in it.
Yeah.
She's upset with how Eric is seemingly trying to run everything. Sidelining her, but pulling that whole, I'll take care of everything. You don't need to know what's going on. I'll make sure you're taken care of bullshit. Jerica goddamn Bennett isn't going to take that lying down, of course.
Right.
Also, I want the Misfits introduced right away because, duh, they're the Misfits. You cannot have Jem and the Holograms without them. And also, I love them. So they show up at the office. I would be okay if... So in the cartoon, they had guitar motorcycles. Like giant motorcycles that were just guitars. I'd love it if that made an appearance somehow. It's not practical. I'd love it.
It's definitely a very cartoon idea. A little hard to shoehorn in live action, but yeah.
Especially because they drove it inside of the building. I think they had to take those up an elevator, actually. Anyway... So they show up at the office. Jerica instantly hates them and mostly pizzazz. She can't do anything to stop Eric from signing them, however. Legal mumbo-jumbo, I don't know. Also, I want sexual tension between Jerica and pizzazz.
Of course you do.
Well,
Who didn't see that fucking coming?
I'm just trying to throw a bone to my fellow enemies to lovers fans, okay? And also, like, they antagonize each other so well, they have to wanna fuck, right?
Well...
That's how, I mean, I think that's just
it's
how
not
that
a
works.
requirement of that. It's not like...
I don't know, I think that just kind of goes with it.
No, you're just too used to that with me.
I guess that's fair. So Jerica feels like something shady is happening and knows she needs to investigate what Eric's up to. That's where the other three come in. Jerica gets them to investigate around the office, maybe tail Eric while he's around town, and try to see what he's up to. Meanwhile, she's preparing for a battle of the bands that's happening to promote upcoming artists, like the Misfits. Or maybe that can even be a thing that, like, Eric is going to sign them if they win, so Jerica's like, okay, well, I'm gonna make sure they lose. I think that would work well. Then, Jerica receives her last inheritance. A pair of earrings that lead her to Synergy. Synergy will talk, and she will not be a corporate cute robot design. Fuck you. She teaches Jerica about the holograms she can make, and Jerica decides, well, fuck it. I can disguise myself and enter the Battle of the Bands to stop the Misfits from getting signed on.
Nice.
I kind of want to showcase here how unhinged Jerica is. Because in the original cartoon, she never tells Rio her secret identity. She's raging this war on a rival band. She's pretty cutthroat, and I really want that up front here.
That's fair.
So she manages to convince her sisters to join her because, all her ass can do is sing. They agree. Maybe they've realized what Eric's up to. Maybe they're sure he's trying to steal the company from her. I also want a moment where Kimber is overjoyed, because it's been her dream to have her own band. And maybe she's got like a small following on social media, but, their dad promised to one day let her record an album. It just never happened. Because he's a shit dad.
Right.
To her, anyway. Of course, she didn't anticipate being solely on the keyboard and relegated to the side, once again in Jerica's shadow. So we're going to start building up Kimber being like, well, wait a minute here. Bring up that sibling rivalry. Battle of the Bands happens. There's a bunch of band v band shenanigans, maybe some moments between Stormer and Kimber, because I'm weak. I'm weak for them. And by maybe, I mean absolutely. There's going to be a whole thing. Jem and the Holograms win. Duh. And she exposes Eric's schemes. What I'm imagining is that she can't, go to the law exactly, but she can strong-arm him into... Speech and pantomime. But she can strong-arm him into giving up the company. So now, it's all Jerica's. Of course, nothing going to Kimber, because... Duh.
Right. Yeah.
Then we could wrap up with Eric scheming with Pizzazz, who's going to help him set up his own company because she's filthy rich anyway. Meanwhile, we see tension in Kimber, who keeps getting overlooked and bossed around by Jerica, her jealousy growing. Also, Rio has been here the whole time, he's just a simp who can't tell his girlfriend looks like a little different. He's basically there to simp at Jerica.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have had to have a character like that in every remake you've made.
What? No. Don't go back and... Don't test that, but no.
Maybe not every single one. I don't know if there was a simp in the Blob.
Nah. Well, maybe me. For the Blob.
Fair enough.
I wanted to keep this mostly simple. Embody the spirit of the original, accentuate a few parts.
Yeah, but there may have been a simp, and you may have created a simp in the Blob. I think you may have turned the shitty boyfriend into a himbo simp.
Fuck, you know what? I think I might have. You look so excited. You look so fucking ecstatic that you...
Oh, beautiful, wonderful.
I love my self-inserts. What can I say? Anyway, I wanted to keep this mostly simple. Embody the spirit of the original, accentuate a few parts, make the queer subtext just plain text.
Always a good idea.
I'm thinking about making Jerica and Kimber both trans. We don't get enough good-hearted but unhinged trans women, so that'd be nice to see. And hey, it adds to Kimber's jealousy, because maybe her coming out was overshadowed by Jerica's. I don't know.
It's very possible.
Also, frankly, there is no reason for them to be cis. In fact, Rio is a trans guy now, too. We need more stupid trans men rap. Trans men himbos for everyone. Hollywood, get on it.
Required by law. One for every U.S. citizen.
You've heard of the Hays Code? Now it's the Gays Code.
Oh my god.
In fact, now the Starlight Mansion is a refuge for queer kids abandoned by their families. The only cishet allowed in this movie is going to be Eric, as it rightfully should be. That's it, that's my remake. If you'd like, I can tell you the following 2 sequels I've outlined, following Kimber breaking from the band.
No. We do not have the time for that.
You can find my fanfiction at www.ao3.org.
Is that a joke? Is that an actual joke? Or do you actually have Gem and the Holograms fanfiction?
Not yet.
If you ever write some, we'll add it to the description. We'll link it in the description.
Here's the thing.
No guarantees.
I have my fingers crossed that one day I get famous enough that I can get my own Gem and the Holograms. I can actually do it for real.
We'll see. We'll definitely see. Almost certainly not, but we'll definitely see.
It's a pipe dream.
Well, it's not. It's more than you have to be famous. It would be such a hard property to get. You know.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely, but
it would be you have to be rich, and you'd have to know very specific people, and it would be a nightmare. You know, let's not get into the details of that. But I do like your remake. I think you definitely touched on a lot of the stuff that we saw as missing opportunities. Mm-hmm. I do like it a bit. It's still kind of laid back and kind of obviously I never watched the cartoon, but I know that you are very obsessed with it. So it's
yeah.
You can kind of see there's
elements of the original.
A lot of that passion coming through. So my remake does have some similarities.
Okay. Some
obvious ones, some non-obvious, but it does differ quite a bit. So my movie is not going to follow Jerica. It is going to follow a man named Jeremy Eric. And he is going to be in a foster home with his cis sister, and 2 other girls, and all 4 of them are real into music. They have been since they were a kid. They've been together in this foster home for a good number of years at this point. And Jeremy's been very, he's like, he doesn't have a huge amount of friends, doesn't have a lot of social connections outside of, the four of them. And so he just kind of like dives headfirst into music as a way to kind of like express himself. Though, like, he gets awkward with the idea of like actually performing the music. Because Jeremy is always like writes all like the vocals and stuff. It's like a very like forward presenting kind of thing. But he feels odd, and he says that it's like, oh, I stand out. Like it's weird. There's like there's these three girls and there's me, and it's like it's just weird. It's a weird dynamic, and I don't know if I want to like overshadow them, because we're all working so hard. I don't want a guy to be the face of like a very female focused group. And so at first like he kind of like there's similar to like in the base movie, there's like, oh, they're kind of like practicing and like doing like a practice performance together, but he's like shy, he doesn't really want to get into it and whatnot. But Kimber comes up with a really fun idea to it's like, oh, well, why don't we kind of like make a little persona for you, dress you up, put you like in a wig and some makeup, and you pretend that you're one of the girls, and you could just be a part of the group. You don't even have to be in the front. Somebody else can sing the lines, but you can be a part of the group, and we can be four girls in that kind of way, and that way it doesn't have to feel weird. And you see you smiling so much already.
I'm loving this. Go on.
And he's a little resistant, but they kind of overpower him as like this a big flurry of teenage girlness, like how it is, and put him up in like a loose wig and some makeup, and they do some performance, and Kimber's the one singing a lot and being kind of like that front person, but like in the last half of the song, we'll still have that musical number. Won't let the musical number go to waste.
Yeah.
The last half of the song, Jeremy comes forward and sings the rest of it. It's very big and bold, and the persona is Jem. The stage name. We should, but it's with a J because it's like my name, but it's and like, it's very silly. There's no specific reason for it, and then they have fun, and then they break, and then Jeremy goes back to his room, and he doesn't take the wig off, he doesn't take the makeup off. He's just kind of sitting there. He's tired, and he's just kind of sitting in his room for a while, and is just kind of not able to go to bed. Very, jittery, but like, can't be loud. But decides to kind of get that energy out by singing. Doesn't like do like the full guitar because he doesn't want to wake people up. But he does sing. He's got a pretty nice falsetto. And, so he does kind of like a low-key acoustic version of the song. And Kimber, who's in the next room right over, very thin walls, hears this and goes over and records. He's still got the wig on and can't really see him clearly. So Kimber puts up the video of Jem singing, and almost like goes viral overnight. But it's like it goes this like for people like if you've never like posted anything, if you've never posted anything at all, and then you post something and it gets like a couple hundred views, that feels viral.
Right.
It's not in any way viral that we would expect when we talk about that term, but it feels viral to the people who post it.
Right.
It is so far beyond the minimal 0 to 1 views expectation, and it happens because the singing is genuinely great. And this is like mortifying for Jeremy. Like, this is like, oh, you recorded me and you shouldn't have done that, and he's freaking out, and he's freaking out more than he should. So I'm dwelling a lot on the details of this to establish the tone, because ultimately this is a trans story for the few cis people who are listening to this who have not gotten it already. Jeremy Eric is Jerica, who's trans.
Do you mean Benton, by the way?
No, Jeremy Eric Benton. I meant to say the last name and I never did.
Okay.
But Jeremy Eric Benton.
Okay.
Middle name Eric.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So that when she transitions, she does her first name, and this is true for most trans people, is the stupidest version of their previous name. Like, that's not wrong. You can't tell me that's wrong. I'm not necessarily saying that's the name that they stick with. Maybe they'll switch really fast. But the first name that every trans person takes is the stupidest version of the name they already have.
No, okay, so here's the thing. The first name I chose was my birth name backwards.
Am I wrong?
No,
Am I wrong?
Here's the thing, it sounds good.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to say what it is, but I think it sounds good. The masses do not need to know.
That's fair. I can kind of play it in my head. It's, but like, I prefer your name now. I'll say that first and foremost.
I prefer Fox as well.
But Jericho would use that name with the just kind of keeping that together, and it's not necessarily like maybe she'll switch later, but like that's the name that she goes with. Kind of keeping, and that was mainly because like Jerica's a weird name. Jerica's just a weird name. Like what?
Yeah.
So, but it makes more sense if it's an amalgamation of normal names that a trans woman is using to base their new name on.
You know what? Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So she goes by Jerica, but the stage name of Jem still really important to her. Instead of a huge record label that's like super duper famous, she's gonna get noticed by a very small time indie producer.
Okay.
Who is going to be Eric.
Okay.
Very small time, low key, but is like hungry and backstabby and really wanting to get high in the business. And then it's like, it's the Starlight labels and it's all like a janky mess and all this bullshit. And Synergy is, instead of a full robot, is a chatbot that Jerica used to chat with about things that she couldn't talk about with anybody else on her computer. Coded by her late father.
That's a fascinating twist. Okay.
And then, in terms of the holograms, I don't have a specific thing for that. We can have some bullshit of like, okay, let's be fair. Jerica's a trans woman. She's going to be good at programming.
I mean, I think that went without saying.
Right. So, like, being able to, like, do some, like, basic, like, not necessarily full, like, 3D hologram, but, like, projection mapping on a wall in a way that, like, kind of looks 3D. That's very plausible. 3DS did that shit. It's very plausible. Doesn't even have to necessarily look good. But,
so you're keeping this a little more realistic.
Yes.
Okay.
Low-key realistic. Bring the stakes down. Because it's really not the point of this.
Right.
The big name, the labels, all that other stuff. Like, making it big in the music industry is not the point here. This is a trans story first and foremost. And the most amount of drama is going to come from Rio. Rio works he's like one of the two other employees at this small time record label, who is like he becomes really good friends with Jeremy, quote unquote, and it's like there's something more, but Rio doesn't understand what, because he's ostensibly a straight man.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, but he's also like, but he's like really into Jem. And he doesn't realize at first that this is the same person. Maybe he thinks that Jeremy's like, when Jericho's presenting as Jeremy, it's like, oh, this is like a stagehand. Like, this is somebody who's helping out. Like, and then I don't know, Jem's busy.
So he's stupid here.
Oh yeah.
Good.
In
good,
what
good.
reality is Rio not a fucking idiot?
I mean, that's correct. That's all he can be. And
Right.
we love him for it.
So he doesn't ever directly meet Jem, but like sees Jem in these kind of situations and like, videos, and like it's like, oh fuck, what a woman, right? I want to say, I know I had everybody in foster homes. Nothing sexual is going to happen in this movie, but Rio's going to be like, is going to be the son of Eric. I don't know if that's the thing in the cartoon. I'm doing that very specifically so that he is able to work at this shitty 2-employee label as a 16-year-old.
No, that's fair. They're not at all related in the cartoon.
Right. It's unfortunate that I have to do that, but it's really only to justify his presence at the label as a 16-year-old.
Well, you know what? I mean, you're following the movie more, and that's fine.
Right. And a lot of the drama is going to be from their will they, won't they, back and forth kind of quote-unquote love triangle situation, and the conflict of like what being trans does to romantic interaction and how you perceive yourself as straight and how others perceive their sexualities. Like, a lot of that conflict's going to be in there, and there's going to be parts that are going to be rough. Like when Rio finds out, it's not going to be like a big like, oh my gosh, this is like really cool. It's gonna shake him up, and Rio's probably gonna say something bad. Not horrific. Rio's not gonna say slurs. we want this character to be a good character, but like,
right, he's not gonna hate crime. He's just not gonna have the most favorable reaction.
Right, and it's gonna be a big shock to his system, but there's gonna be genuine connection there, and it's going to the climax of the movie is going to be in two things. Is going to be in two main parts. One is they're trying to book. What was the name of the theater in the?
I truly don't know.
I don't know if there's like an iconic name of a theater from the cartoon. I don't know off the top of my head.
I can't think off the top of my head either. They play at so many places, baby.
Right. We can reuse one of those names, but it's like, it is famous for a local place. It's like, if you're a musician in the state, this is a good get. But like, if you're in the country, it's not bad, but it's like, you would book this if you're on tour. But they're not going to let just anybody in here. So it's like, this is like the bar between amateur and professional. Getting this gig can push you up to that next level. If you do the gig, sell it out, and do it well.
Okay, yeah.
So it's really taking that next step. And then the other part of the climax is, are Rio and Jerica going to fully get together? And it's gonna, like, timing wise, like we'll have the reveal of Jerica as Jem and also trans after the gig has been booked, but before the gig has happened.
Okay.
So there's like a couple of days, maybe like a week of like this kind of like, like Rio stormed off and he's gone for a couple of days, and like, he just doesn't show up for work, and like some back and forth seasons. Other characters talk to Rio, other characters talk to Jerica, and then it's like this like big decision of like, will Jerica be there for the performance, or will Jerica go to like try to appeal to Rio? And then on Rio's end, it's like, is Rio going to suck it up and help out, or is Rio just going to like leave this all behind? Because this label is falling apart. Like, if they don't book this, like, there's nothing, So it's like, is Rio just going to leave this behind and go a different route with his life? And the culmination of that is going to be Jerica is going to stay true to her passions, and put what she cares about, like values most in her life, which is ultimately music. Like she's not going to tear apart her life over a boy. So she's going to do this concert. She's going to do it. And if Rio doesn't want to be a part of that, that's his decision. But Rio's going to get his shit together, and he's going to show up and help in the nick of time.
Oh,
and that's how they're going to get together.
That's beautiful, baby. I love this so much.
Right. And they are going to be happy together. And, you know, and Rio may not see himself as straight anymore, and that's a good thing, you know? But, like, and that's really it. Like, we don't need anything bigger than that. It could just be this, like, very interpersonal, low-stakes, small-time label thing. We don't even necessarily need the rival band in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in your version, we don't need the Misfits.
We don't need the Misfits. I feel like that would be a little too much. We would be kind of taking attention away from what matters. Mm-hmm. And then the Misfits can be, like, we can have a sequel with Misfits of, like, the Misfits are like, all queer femme band who are, like, angry at Gem and the Holograms because they think that, like, oh, you've got, like, because they see that fucking Jericho as a trans woman immediately. Every queer person in the audience does. And so they're like, oh, you're fucking parading around a trans woman to, like, pretend you guys are queer. And, like, they like, have this really bad misconception of, like, what... Because, like, you know, Jem's this, like, frontliner. It's like, oh, you're parading around the fucking trans woman as this thing? It's like, that's fucking, like... We're all queer, and we all worked really hard to get where we are. Yeah.
I like this.
But we'll talk about that later. That's my remake.
I know, I love it.
It's going to be mostly vibes and trans.
I mean, those are good vibes.
Those are good vibes. And, like, I think we need actively more stories. And this is true for not just for trans stuff, but also just, like, any kind of, you know, representation. Like, it is good that there is casual representation, but we need casual representation and representation that involves the stories of those people. Like, I've seen so many, like, I'm glad that more trans characters are in things. Totally glad. None of the stories that I've seen that have trans characters in them are about being trans in any way. You know? I shouldn't say none. There are some, I know they exist, especially indie stuff. And there's like allegories where people aren't explicitly trans, but it's about the trans experience. Don't quote the Matrix at me. I get it. It exists, but it's just, like, not super common. We get a lot of superficial trans characters, but not a lot of actual trans stories. And that's also true for a lot of other minorities. And when we need that representation, it needs to come in both forms.
Yes.
It can't just be one or the other. And, like, even if we had like more trans stories, if we just had trans stories, I'd be like, we need more casual representation as well. We need both. I think our remakes, like, they're both the opposite ends. Like, you were the more in depth with the trans thing. Mine is just casually queer. Everyone's queer. Right.
You really get down to the nitty gritty and to the identities. Yeah. And yours is also more wholesome than mine.
A lot more wholesome. A lot. Mine is like, I think mine hits that, like, decom vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes to areas the decoms would never go, but, like, it's that, like, you know, kind of kiddie vibe. So
meanwhile, mine is unhinged.
Very, very unhinged. Also, I know I didn't give the Kimber and the other girls a lot. I didn't give them a lot to do. Sorry.
It's not about them and yours.
Their stories and their whole thing can be explained in the sequel with their fight with the Misfits.
There you go.
There you
go.
Maybe the Misfits are TERFs.
I did get those vibes, like.
We'll see. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm just spitballing.
Maybe Pizzazz is the real TERF. Roxy goes along with it because she's a follower, not a leader. And then poor Stormer is just like, oh, well, I don't think there's any problem. And then that can lead into Stormer and Kimber getting together.
Feel free to use these. Make more trans stories. Gem and the Holograms is a great fucking candidate for this. Just make Jericho trans.
Yes, absolutely.
And make the others trans too if you want, but especially make Jericho trans.
And Hollywood, hit me up. I'll make this movie for you.
Oh yeah, we'll fucking spare no expense. All right. Thank you all for watching or listening, whatever the fuck. Bye.
Bye.